And today we have back the great Ron Say, who's being inducted into the Legends of Dodger Baseball. He's got his bobblehead night tomorrow at Dodger Stadium. Ron, a lot has changed since you were last on the show. The Dodgers have won a World Series. You've been inducted into the Legends of Dodger Baseball. But how are you doing, Mr. Ron Say?
Doing well, Doug. I left the organization about 3 years ago, and you're right. A lot of things have happened. I've got a podcast show called "We'll See About That." Did a book as well called Penguin Power. So those are keeping my that's where my participation is today.
Yeah, Ron, and first of all, congratulations on the book. It's a great read. I recommend all Dodgers fans to pick it up and read it. It's essential reading. Penguin Power, Dodger Blue, Hollywood Lights, and my 1 in a million big league journey. I actually want to start right there because you said before writing the book that you're like, hey, you didn't know if you had a story to tell. And then you read, it's like every page, every chapter, something riveting. I mean, for players that are inspired to be baseball players. I remember I asked you a few years ago, I was like, hey, Ron, what would you do if you weren't a baseball player? And you would say, nope, I was going to be a baseball player, right? You committed to that dream, right?
That's true. Yeah, that came from an interview that was about 4 years in when I'd established myself, and there was a magazine in New York that wanted to do an interview, and the lady who was doing the interview asked me that question. And she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe I need to rephrase that." And I said, "No, you don't. That's the answer. I would have been a baseball player. I dedicated myself to making that happen. It was a childhood dream, and fortunately enough for me, it worked out."
Yeah, now you look at tomorrow. It's going to be really special. I mean, you got Dusty Baker last year. You got all these legends, Oral Hershiser, Fernando Valenzuela, and you now will be the 9th inductee in the Legend of Dodger Baseball. You got Don Newcomb, Steve Garvey, Fernando Valenzuela. You got Maury Wills, Kirk Gibson, Manny Mota, Oral Hershiser, Dusty Baker, and now Ron Say. First thing I want to know is just how did you learn of this? When did they inform you of this? How did that conversation go? Who was it? Just kind of how did that moment go down where you found out you were going to join this legendary group of Dodgers players?
I think it happened probably about 6 months ago or so. I don't recall exactly how it came through. It may have come through the inner office by way of Steve Brenner. I'm not exactly sure. I believe it was, however. But that's how I learned about it. It's overdue. I've earned it. I don't mind saying that because the metrics will, prove that out. All you have to do is go look at it. So I'm pleased that it is now finally happening, and my family will have a chance to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at your career, 6-time All-Star with the Dodgers, World Series MVP in 1981. When you retired, you had 228 home runs. That was the most in LA Dodger history. You had 765 walks. You were 6th in R-WAR in history. As far as third base, you're right at the top. Position players right there in the top 5. And it does feel like this is long overdue. But now that it's here, do you just kind of forget about that and just, hey, accept that, hey, this is a great moment. Let's celebrate it?
I think that's probably the only way I can look at it. I'm really happy that we are now coming to terms with it and dealing with it, and I'm looking very forward to sharing this moment with all of the great fans that supported us back then. It's a generational happening. I know that when I did work there, I heard a lot about the fans would tell me, we're here because of you guys, and we took our kids, and they're taking their kids. So I expect that this base of fans that are coming tomorrow night will be generational.
Yeah, we have a lot of young Dodgers fans, next generation of Dodgers fans, and I like to dive into the history of this organization a lot on this show. And yeah, absolutely. What you guys were able to do in the 70s and the 80s, really becoming this just legendary infield that we're never going to see again when you consider the fact that you, Bill Russell, Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, 8+ years. I mean, that's just never going to happen again. 300+ wins, all the achievements. I mean, Just kind of talk about what that group kind of meant as far as just helping the Dodgers continue to increase their popularity. And you were just that team in the late 70s and early 80s.
Well, we had a terrific run. There's no question about that. 4 World Series in 10 years, a World Championship. Every member of the infield was homegrown within the organization. Every member was also a multiple-time All-Star. We are, by fact, the most successful infield in Major League history. We also had the first 30 home run foursome in Major League history. We were the first team in Major League Baseball to draw 3 million people. So they do live in the house that we built. And before us, we had a terrific foundation of leadership from the players that came before us. We got to be a part of mixing and rubbing elbows with them for many years, part of the fantasy camps that the Dodgers would run. They left a very good foundation for us, and we had great schooling from our coaching staff. We have one of the premier tradition and histories in all of Major League Baseball, and we were able to carve out our own historic run there with all of that I just mentioned.
Yeah, 8.5 seasons, 73 through 81, all the success that you had, 4 pennants, 1 championship. When you kind of look back at that group and the relationships you guys had with each other, just kind of what was your proudest moment with those guys?
Winning the World Series. It was a culmination of all the years, and not only for us but our fan base. Their support over the years. We led the league in attendance every year. And besides setting all the major league attendance records, we were able to do a lot of things special. And the Dodgers, have a very special history and tradition. And, we were able to, as I mentioned, make our mark. And the fact that the Dodgers were able to bring the World Series championship back to Los Angeles from New York. That was the last game that the infield played together, Game 6 of 1981. And we were the first 4 hitters in the lineup. Historical. Didn't realize it at the time, but we had an amazing group of guys. We were the core, the nucleus of that team. We had great players outside of that, pitching and playing in the outfield. It was a very special time for the Dodgers and the O'Malley ownership in baseball.
Yeah, and they did honor you guys the 50th anniversary of your first game starting together. And last time we talked, you said you just didn't really have that much of a relationship with the current Dodgers organization. Well, you have that celebration. You've got this now with the Legends of Dodger Baseball and the Bobblehead Night. What really has changed, and do you expect to have more involvement in a relationship with this organization moving forward?
That's up to them. We did get honored. I think it was last year for that, or the year before. And now this is happening for me. Today's game is more about what's going on today with their club. I think we understand that. I don't know how much it will change, and as I said, it's really kind of up to them.
Are you kind of hoping to be more involved?
Well, I've worked there for 40 years, playing and in the inner office, multiple hats there. I don't know if there would be an opportunity to come back. Probably not. But I am grateful for the fact that I was able to be there and a part of the organization for as long as I was.
And are you expecting, as far as just the emotions of the night, kind of what are you expecting? I mean, just kind of how do you handle just getting that kind of attention, just being embraced like that? It's going to be really, really special.
It'll be very special. I'm sure. We were very fortunate in that we played to a packed house most of the time. So I'm anticipating a big crowd. I certainly hope that they will be there and celebrate this with me. It's a special occasion. We mutually shared, our time together. They gave us attendance records in droves. We gave them 4 World Series and a World Championship. So I would expect that it will be a mutual sharing tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, and of course, I got to ask you, Ron, have you seen the bobblehead in person? Do you have your hands on it yet? And have you seen pictures? Because I look at it, I love you got the batting helmet on, you got the mustache. I mean, how would you just rate how they did on the bobblehead? Because I think it looks great.
Well, I had input as I did with the other ones that I have. I designed actually the first couple of them. There was a white base on, I believe, the second one, and that was home plate, and it was designed for the signature. 6 letters I can squeeze in a lot, and there's an inch and an inch and an eighth, I think, the longest span across. So I was able to do that, but a
Awesome.
lot of people want to have, you sign on the helmet, and that's very awkward and very difficult and doesn't look as good. And there's a place for it, but I did have a little bit of input for this one, and I'm very pleased with it.
I love the one batting glove. I think the one batting glove. I think you don't see that often these days, and just it looks like you're about to hit a big home run. Now, you did mention the current Dodgers,
Yeah.
and since we last talked, they did win a World Series. I want to ask you, hey, what did that feel like for you? You called Yankee Stadium the Taj Mahal of baseball, and that how much tradition they have. What did that mean to you to have the Dodgers not only just win a World Series, but win a World Series against the Yankees? Guys, I think there's some parallels there between you guys. 77, 78, you lose, then you come back, you beat the Yankees. The Dodgers, they've had their ups and downs in the postseason. Finally, we're able to get another one against the New York Yankees. Did that feel a little extra significant to you because it was against the Pinstripes?
Well, first of all, I'm happy that, they were able to, finally celebrate the parade. That's a very special day. You won't forget it. They are making us proud, being able to carry the flag like we did, and continue to add to the history and tradition. It is all very special, and to reward the fans for their continued support of the Dodgers year in and year out. They lead the league in attendance. It's all very special, and quite honestly, the fans do deserve the best. And I do anticipate that they believe they should be back in the World Series this year. But anytime that you have the Yankees and Dodgers, you got the 2 biggest markets in the country. It is the network's delight that those 2 teams are in there for sure. So yeah, it's all very special, and when you really look at it, the Yankees do have the greatest history and tradition, and the Dodgers and the Cardinals, in my opinion, have the 2 best traditions in the National League, and so it's all very special that you continue to make your fans happy.
And have you gotten a chance to pay attention to this year's team a good amount? Anything that kind of stands out? They've dealt with a lot of injuries, but they still lead their division. Do you think they're in a good spot to repeat?
Well, yeah, they're in a good spot, primarily because Padres have been a big disappointment. I don't think they played up to expectations at all. I think the Giants have been a little bit of a surprise because they've been real gritty, and they have hung in there through thick and thin. And they're not that far back. Between those 2 teams, if they make a good run the second half, they might be able to squeeze into the wild card run, and they're still there. But when you look at it overall, you look at the Phillies and the Mets, you look at the Cubs and Milwaukee and the Cardinals, and you're looking at the Dodgers. So those are the teams that have been performing the best. I anticipate that they'll do the same in the second half.
And as far as Shohei Ohtani goes, I mean, I remember I asked you a couple years ago which players you like to watch. You mentioned him as a player. Now he's with the Dodgers, starting to pitch again. I mean, it's one thing for fans and reporters to have an opinion on, a guy that's pitching at a Cy Young level, hitting at an MVP level. But as a former great all-star player like you are. I mean, how do you kind of comprehend and make sense of what Shohei Ohtani is able to do on the baseball diamond?
I'm not sure I can. You know, when he is the two-way player, which the Dodgers paid for, whether they utilize that or not is to be seen. But that's what makes him the Babe Ruth of baseball. And you know, when you look at WAR, which dominates the metrics today, when he does the dual thing, he is unquestionably the best player in baseball. He's got, you know, two ways of gaining WAR. And, you know, right now, Aaron Judge is having a great year again. I think he leads Major League Baseball in WAR, which makes him a prime candidate again. Cal Raleigh from the Mariners, who won the home run contest in the All-Star game, breaks a record for catchers for home runs in the first half. Most guys would take those statistics for the year and be very, very proud of it. And it's done in right around 100 games. So Shohei Ohtani has a chance to be one of the greatest players in the history of the game, and he needs to stay healthy. And what would solidify, you know, his claim for that would be if he can be able to, you know, be the dual player for a couple of years at least. The only thing that separates Babe Ruth from Barry Bonds is Babe Ruth got points in WAR for his pitching. And those are the 1-2 ranked players in all of baseball history.
Yeah, and if you're Shohei Ohtani, I mean, there's been some talk. You mentioned Barry Bonds, and he was saying that he should only be a hitter. And then John Smoltz said if he was just a pitcher, he'd be the best pitcher in baseball. Shohei Ohtani said a couple of days ago he's a pitcher that learned how to hit. Do you think that this is something he just tries to do as long as he possibly can?
I'd like to see it happen because it's so unique and so bizarre, and for him to be that good of a pitcher. You know, I don't. You know, Babe Ruth was a pretty good pitcher, but I don't know if he was a top 5 pitcher potentially or top 10 pitcher. You know, I think Ohtani has been considered to be that. You know, I think there was one year when he pitched for the Angels that he won 15 games. Yeah. You know, and so I mean that's 15 games. Winning 15 games today with the metrics and the way that they align the rotation and the innings pitched and whatever, I mean, that's phenomenal. And then when you add him as a hitter, you know, and yeah, it's a DH. I understand that the purists would like to see him playing every day instead of being an everyday or being just a DH. But when you put him, you know, when you put him in the pitching side of it, and that kind of, I think, evens out. We'll see how it goes. I don't expect them to push him much the second half. If they need him, I think they'll use him. But I think that I think they would like to save him for the postseason if necessary. I think that's a better fit right now.
Yeah, and they got the depth to do it. Now, I've heard you mention WAR a couple times. I just want to point out you're 5th all time among Dodgers position players in FWAR. You're only behind names like Duke Snider, Zach Wheat, Pee Wee Reese, and Jackie Robinson. You're ahead of Willie Davis, Gil Hodges, Roy Campanella, Steve Garvey, Mike Piazza. It's really interesting to hear a player from your era mention WAR and advanced metrics and things like that. I mean, is it safe to say that you're almost kind of underrated? Because if you're in today's game and you look at the numbers you put up, the kind of the WAR numbers you put up, I almost think that you're kind of seen in a different light.
Oh, there's no question that the metrics evaluation today has elevated, you know, where I am. It's altered the history of what you just said. The other fact that you may or may not know, since we're talking about it, and I learned about it actually through Tim Wallach. He asked me one day if I had taken a look at the metrics, and I said not so much. And so he said, well, you really ought to, because you're more valuable in today's game than you were in your own. And what I was going to add there is that of the 10 years that I played for the Dodgers, I was the #1 ranked player 6 of those years. So yes, I think that there's been a lot overlooked, and I would think that if somebody's interested in taking a look at it, they ought to. It's available. If I can find it, those people can find it.
Yeah, I looked it up. It was like Willie Crawford, Jimmy Wynn, Reggie Smith, and Pedro Guerrero were the only guys of those 10 years that had higher WAR seasons in that span. So yeah, I mean, you accomplished so much in your career, and then you got the big legend of Dodger baseball. But who knows? One day, I mean, if you look at the totality of your career, I mean, there could be some more accolades down the line. Now, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned the Cardinals. You mentioned
Yeah.
the Yankees. I mean, there's been this big talk this year, this big buzz about, oh, are the Padres the Dodgers' new rival, their second rival? We always know it's going to be the Giants. But, I mean, can you have a second rival? I mean, do you think the Padres are a Dodgers rival at this point?
Well, I think that's kind of up to them to decide how that works. In my opinion, anybody who challenges you, for a divisional title, is a rival. I mean, we had an unbelievable rivalry with Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine. I mean, the true matter of fact is that during that 10-year period, the road to the World Series is through the National League West. We had the two best teams in the National League, and we only had one winner, right? No wild cards, none of that. And so, if you look at it, it's Reds Dodgers. And the only 2 years I think that were different was 79 when Pittsburgh won and 80 when the Phillies won. The rest of it's Reds Dodgers. And then we win in 81 and we're knocking on the door again in 82. We end up losing on the last day of the season to one game by the Atlanta Braves. So the Atlanta Braves became, a rival that year. An all-time overall, rival, no. But in that moment, this is who you're battling with. So I consider that to be a rival.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I think it's player dependent, right? I mean, you got Machado and Tatis and just how competitive the baseball is between those two. I think it's okay to say. I don't think it's that wild to say. Now, I want to go back to a couple of things from your book. I thought it was a really cool story to hear you talk about going to that speedway, the CPAC Speedway, where your dad raced the stock cars and the Willie Mays thing. And Willie Mays was your guy, but you didn't want to call him your idol. And then finally you end up saying, you know what, I'm going to be okay with this. Willie Mays is my guy. I'm not afraid to say he's my idol, my favorite player, and things like that. I mean, just how important is it to kind of have those moments, those guys you look up to, like in your path to a big league career?
Well, it's all part of the journey. I mean, I don't know what motivates kids today, nor the players who are in Major League Baseball today back then, but it certainly wasn't about money. It was about the players who came before me. And, I could go back, probably to this is aging me, back in the 1920s, it's 100 years ago, and I could tell you who those players were. And they were Jimmy Fox and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Ty Cobb and those guys and the pitchers that went with it. And then, right on through. So it caught my attention. And we didn't have computers and cell phones back then. So you kind of had to go do your homework. You had to kind of dig it out. And that was something that, I'm saying, God, this is so great, and I do remember, I was listening to the transistor radio while I was hitting some balls in between races on the speedway. And, I learned that, Willie Mays had hit 4 home runs today. And I saw, oh my God, I'm throwing my bat up and down. My guy just did this. But yeah, for quite a long time, I was a little macho with my friends, like, oh, I don't have an idol, I'm too good for that. Well, I was only lying to myself. And I'm saying to myself, when are you going to get over this? I mean, this is your guy. Why don't you celebrate it? And I finally did. and I came to terms with it. And then, of course, the best reality of it all is that, I get to play against my idol, and I have had a relationship with Willie. And so, it's not like I could call him my best friend or we were talking every week, but it was something that he honored. I told him, I don't know how many times, and the last time I did have a time to spend a little bit of time with him, I reminded him of him, and I had this picture of he and I for about 40 years. And I was going up to San Francisco for a Dodger Giant reunion that they had asked me to participate in. And so I was hoping that I was going to be able to run into Willie. And I had asked one of my friends up there who worked in the inner office, I said, "Do you think Willie's going to be around? Because I'd really like to get this picture signed." So he relayed the message. And the word got back to me, and Willie said he's coming, and he wants me to come to the park. He says, "Well, then I'm coming to the park." And so I got to go over and spend about 20 minutes with him and his caretaker, and reminisce for a little bit. But that was a big day in my life too.
Yeah, they say you never want to meet your idols, but clearly that one was one that definitely worked out. Now, speaking of other baseball legends, do you think that you're celebrating tomorrow without Tommy Lasorda and just how he impacted your career?
There are a number of players that I've learned that won't be able to be there. Rick Monday, I spoke with him. He has to be back in Florida for a procedure with his wife. Understand that. I got word that Reggie Smith, who was going to be there, cannot attend, and Steve Yeager will not be also attending because of health reasons. I'm disappointed, but I certainly understand. There's lots of people that I wished were here. Walter Alston, who I played for 4 years before Tommy took over. I was fortunate enough, and the Dodgers were fortunate enough to have, two Hall of Fame managers back to back, and so that would have been really nice. But there's all kinds of people that are part of our history and tradition, and fortunately, I got to meet just about everybody, and it's very special to be a Dodger, and I'm forever grateful of having that opportunity.
Do you have a favorite Tommy Lasorda story?
None that I can tell.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I was reading the book, like the bowling and the basketball. And
Oh, the bowling one.
What was the bowling like?
Oh my God, the bowling story is hilarious. Every Sunday, we used to go over to the local Vero Beach bowling alley, and they had about 4 lanes, and we would go over there on Sundays because we knew that every Sunday our game would be broadcast back from Holman Stadium to our fans in Los Angeles. So we had that day pretty much planned. So after the ball game, we would go over and bowl. And this one spring, Bill Buckner, who was part of our bowling group, decides to show up with a brand new pair of bowling shoes, brand new bowling ball, and a brand new bowling case. And he comes in with gloves, and now we're warming up for our Sunday match. And he comes out with a pro bowler spin. Okay. And so we all had our practice lane, 1 roll, 2 rolls, and now we're ready to go. And it's Buckner's turn to start the match. And the first ball he rolls is the gutter ball. So we're now all flat out on the floor, hysterical with this. And I can tell you that it didn't get much better. By the time we were ready to go home, Buckner had gotten rid of his ball, his bag, his gloves, and his new shoes.
That's hilarious.
Oh God, that's was some funny story. I'm telling you, it was great to watch in action too. It was perfect.
It's tough to even comprehend like what Vero Beach was. I mean, with all the everything that was there, former military base and all that stuff, just kind of visualizing those kind of moments. And your chapter about the Hollywood stars, I mean, just some of those names you mentioned, becoming friends with Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, what was that like?
Pretty special. Wilt was a guy that, growing up, I had followed, like many kids my age. Oscar Robertson was another one. Elgin Baylor got to play for Seattle University, and I'm just down the street in Tacoma, so I got to see a number of their games that were televised. Fell in love with Elgin Baylor. Uh, uh, and then coming to Los Angeles over the years, you bump into a lot of people, and back then, we had all the top Hollywood stars coming out and all the athletes coming out, and we didn't have the same security issues that we do today. Today, it would be almost impossible to be able to do what we did. But after our playing careers were over with, Wilt and I went to the same club. I played racquetball, and he was lifting weights and whatever, and we'd always have a conversation about things, and so I got to know him pretty well, and actually. He's responsible for my first Playboy Mansion visit. He was there a lot, and he one night says, "Hey, listen, why don't you come with me to the mansion? I'll show you around." So I did. I went, and quite a place. And I ran into another friend of mine, Christine McVie, from Fleetwood Mac. And I have a relationship with Fleetwood Mac because their logo is the penguin and I'm the penguin. So their publicist, Judy Wong, put that together way back when. So I spent a lot of time with them. I saw them in recording, the recording studio, got to be a part of that. That was quite an education, learning how they do all of that. But yeah, had some great times with some great people.
Yeah, the Ron Say and Wilt Chamberlain go to the Playboy Mansion. That could be a cliffhanger, and then we could do our part 2 podcast, and that would be
Yeah,
a cliffhanger. We'd sit on it for a whole week. I'm pretty sure people will be waiting for what happened. That
yeah, yeah. I can tell you that I don't have any stories to tell like what Wilt does, though.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But we got the legendary Ron Say here, Dodgers Dugout Live, #1 Dodgers podcast and show on YouTube. Vin Scully. I mean, you gave your Mount Rushmore, and you said Vin Scully, Jackie Robinson, Walter O'Malley, and the other guy
Yeah,
you can debate about. Just talk about Vince. I thought it was so interesting to hear you talk about in the book of how you could hear the radios, like, and you could you're in the dugout and you're kind of like getting caught up in a story behind you. I mean, that just it's tough to even imagine anything like that ever again, right? I mean, just what was that like to play through that? Just kind of what he meant to this franchise.
Well, I mean, it seemed like the majority of people who came to the games would always, bring their transistor radio. So you have that many echoing within the stadium. I mean, it sounds like, we got a radio broadcast going on between pitches. And, you could always hear Vinny, in the background. And, he was so great at what he did. And in the last 20 years or so, he only lived a couple of miles from me. So there were times where I would go over and we would chat. It's hard to imagine, a guy that had a career that spanned 65, 66 years and doing the same thing every day, day in, day out, coming from Brooklyn, being a part of just about every Dodger game that you could imagine. He saw everybody play. So you had to value his opinion, and you should value his opinion. But his storytelling was, I think, the one that set him apart from everybody else. I mean, he can describe the sunset behind center field, the mountain behind center field, makes you feel like you're sitting right there. And he was so eloquent with his speech. a great orator, unbelievable what he was able to do. And it's a hard act to follow. I don't think anybody really expects anybody to be able to follow that act. He was just too good.
Yeah, when it comes to Vin Scully, just kind of like what was the relationship between him and the players like, and just kind of what do you remember about that?
Well, I mean, in detail a little bit, back then, we had our own private plane. We had the KO2. We were the envy of baseball. It put a big old blue bullseye on our forehead, along with the other stuff. Uh, Vinny was always on the plane with us, as were the writers. They flew with us, so we were close with everything, and got to spend a lot of time with him. And that was when he was full time, and he would come down and do interviews. He would be in the clubhouse. So much like our relationship with all the other former great players, we got to be a part of getting to know the person that went along with the picture that was on the halls of Vero Beach, and it's much different today. You don't get that opportunity, and that is partly disappointing, because these guys really did enjoy the time that we spent. When we would go on the road or when they would come to Dodger Stadium, they always wanted to come into the clubhouse and talk. And that meant a lot to us, because that bonding was really important, to put together. And being able to talk about their careers and what baseball was like, and they included us in the fantasy camps after we retired. So yeah, we had a really, really nice relationship with all those guys.
Yeah, really cool to see that. Now we're gonna end on some fast stuff here. I
Yeah.
just got back from Atlanta, and
Uh-huh.
of course, when you're Atlanta, when you're at that park, you always see Hank Aaron's home run,
Yep.
715, and you're at third. You got Al Downing, and you see guys shaking his hand as he's rounding the bases. You don't have that same opportunity because there's fans in front of you. Just what do you remember from that legendary iconic moment? Because Vin's on the broadcast, Downing is on the mound. You're at third. It's just such a highly anticipated moment in the history of Major League Baseball. But what do you remember it from Ron Cesai's being on the field for that special moment?
Well, I mean, we're happy that it happened. We were. It was the most historical game that I played in. Henry was a really good guy. I was so happy for him with all the stuff that he had to put up with to conquer that. We knew that he had sat down, I think, in Cincinnati. He said that he wanted to break the record at home because I think he had a fairly long homestand, and we were the first team in to get a shot at it. So I think we were all really looking forward to this. I mean, yeah, we wanted to win the game, but we wanted to see Henry hit this home run. So it just so happens that he does it in the fifth inning of the first game there that we're in. And yeah, we didn't play too well, and it's one game, and they had a 30-minute ceremony right after that, and I did not get a chance to shake his hand when those two kids met him between second and third, which was really kind of a disappointment. But the following weekend, the Braves came to Dodger Stadium, and I went over to you really don't do this very often, but I took two posters and two baseballs over to the visiting clubhouse, and waited for Henry to come to his locker, and I said, I'm not leaving until you sign these posters and balls for me. And he said, it's great. Be happy to. Got to run into him a number of times after that, but that was really, really a special thrill.
It's just so cool to see all you guys on the field for that. I mean, there's literally a TV screen that just plays it like in the stadium, like 24/7. So you're a big part of the Braves in-game entertainment experience. You guys always see you guys. What was your most memorable home run? You got Game 3, the 3-run home run in 1981, 1978 World Series Game 2, that 3-run home run there. But is there a home run that just sticks out for you? Honestly, even if not for your major league career, just like when you say Ron say home run, what comes to mind for you?
Well, my biggest moments are postseason. Regular season's regular season, and unfortunately, I had a lot to talk about. But the biggest ones for me are World Series, then playoffs, then regular season. So two actually. Well, yeah, two. The one that got us off the deck in '81 in Game 3 was a big one, and I ended up having a perfect day at the plate. It was 2 for 2 with 2 walks. Fernando pitched a really gutty game. It wasn't a great performance. 7 walks, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 154 pitchers. He gutted it out, and we survived. We had 3 one-run difficult games to play and win there, and eventually go back to New York and win the World Series. 1978, Yankees again at Dodger Stadium, Game 2. I drove in the first run that we had. We were down 3-1 in the 7th inning. Hall of Famer Catfish Hunter is pitching. Hit a 2-out, 2-strike, I believe 2-strike, home run that put us ahead 4-3. So I drove in all the runs in that game, and we win 4-3. That may have been the bigger game, but when you look at it in terms of, it put us up 2-0 at the time, but in significance, as it turned out, the one in '81 might have been a little bit more important.
Yeah, I just watched before the show. It was just big bomb right there. I saw that you have a pretty big autograph collection. You talk about that in the book, getting autographed baseballs.
Yeah.
Is there a piece of baseball memorabilia that you treasure the most?
Well, I've got a number of baseballs that are your current stars. And that was done while I was working there. I didn't really start collecting until well after I'd retired, and I remember the first 2 baseballs that I got, and it was Ted Williams and Mickey Mantle. And, and of course, I have Willie Mays. That might be my best one, but I also have one that's really unique, and not many people have this one, and it's Sadaharu O. And I got that from one of our international scouts who was from Japan, and he told me he was going back. And I'm saying, would you do me a big favor? I said, would you ask Sadaharu O to sign a ball for me? And the reason why it comes from the Tokyo Giants visited Vero Beach in the 70s. They trained with us for about 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. We got to play an exhibition game for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 innings with the Tokyo Giants. And Sadaharu O was the first baseman. And I got a base hit, and I was down there, and I remember talking with him briefly, but he remembered it. He remembered me, and so I got this autograph back, and he signs it to me in both Japanese and English. So another very special ball that I have. But yeah, I have I call those my Hall of Fame balls and my significant others who are not in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it's a special one, and I look back on it, and I was so fortunate to play against a whole lot of those guys. There's not many that I have that I didn't. And I think one of them was Johnny Mize. But yeah, there's some great ones in there, and I really treasure that collection.
That's amazing. 868 home runs for Sadaharu O. All on the field in Tokyo. Just a true legend. All right, Ron, we're going to do our all-time Dodgers team. So this is Ron Say's all-time Dodgers team, position by position. I'm going to put Ron Say at third base. I think we'll definitely I'll do that one for you. But now you can do any player. It can be past, present, any Dodgers player. It can be guys currently playing. And we didn't really have a DH when we were in your day. So I think
Okay.
DH
All
is
right,
going to
that's
be
fair. That's fair enough. I mean, look, I can't predict, what is going to happen with some of these other players and whether some of these current players. This is kind of Dodger centric.
yeah, it's all
Okay.
Dodgers. It's all Dodgers.
Right.
So third
So
base,
I'll start with Roy Campanella behind the plate. He had a shortened career, three-time most valuable player. The rest speaks for itself. Hall of Famer Gil Hodges at first base. The legendary Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese at shortstop. I'll go with Zach Wheat in left field. He's a Hall of Famer from I think the 30s and 40s, and he has a WAR that is top 10 in Dodger history. Yeah, Carl Furillo. I'm still. That's a maybe. And you have to put Duke Snyder in center field. I have a picture, a portrait upstairs that has Mickey Mantle, Duke Snyder, and Willie Mays on it. And so I would be. I think Duke deserved it. Yeah. As far as the DH goes, since now we have a DH in the National League, so all of those offensive records that have been offensive records in Dodger history will be broken, and it won't be because necessarily that they're better. It'll be because of the change in rules. DH, I would say there's only one, be Ohtani. And as far as pitchers are concerned, I would go. I would go Koufax for sure. I would go right-handed. I would go with Drysdale. And if I had a closer, I kind of have to go two ways here for me. Jim Brewer, left-handed. Mike Marshall, right-handed. High honorable mention Gagne, and a high honorable mention in the rotation for Kershaw and Hershiser and Fernando. But yeah, that kind of rounds it out. I would have two managers. I would have co-managers. I would have Walter Alston and Tommy Lasorda.
absolutely crushed that list. Maybe we'll put Dave Roberts as a first base coach because that's where he was back in San Diego. So you got Dave as your first base coach, but absolutely crushed that list. The great Ron Say being enshrined in the legends of Dodger baseball tomorrow at Dodger Stadium, getting his bobblehead. It's going to be a special night celebrating the career of the legendary Penguin. Ron Say, we appreciate you so much giving us your time here at Dodgers Nation. We can't wait to see you and celebrate your career with the Dodgers tomorrow. But thank you so much for joining us. And congratulations on this well-deserved honor, Ron.
Thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate it.